Okay, so one crafting survival game has taken the market by storm in the past few weeks, and it isn't this one. But wait, hold on. This game is more than worth a second glance, with excellent building mechanics, an absolute ton of progression, and fair enough, a few problems sprinkled in here and there. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Enshrouded. And specifically, is it any good as a single-player game? Well, let's jump in. Just before we get into this one though, I need to mention quickly that I received a free key for Enshrouded for the purposes of making this video. Alright, at the base level, Enshrouded is a survival crafting game with a lot of RPG elements set in a post-apocalyptic world covered in a poisonous gas shroud that you'll only be able to survive in for a short amount of time before succumbing to it. And despite still being in early access, there is a ton to do here. Like, so much it can feel a little overwhelming at the start. I mean, just look at this map and the number of icons on it. It's like a damn Assassin's Creed map. And I can immediately feel that this is going to put some of you off, and hey, I don't blame you for that. But there is fast travel in the game, and Enshrouded also has a grappling hook and a glider that makes traversing the world much more fun and quick. And mercifully, these are given to the player very early on. Also, you can do this. Whee! And I personally find that the number of quests and points of interest and towns dotted around the map gives the player a bit of direction in the early game. Now, I've been playing a lot of Valheim recently with my friends, and one of them was basically our guide for that entire game, and without him, I would have just been totally lost as to what the hell I was supposed to be doing. I mean, even with him, I find myself running in circles doing nothing quite a lot. But anyway, that's not a problem here. If you're stuck for something to do, go to your journal, pick a quest, and just head out and do it, nice and easy. And yeah, there's plenty of that early game punching rocks and trees to get resources stupidity that, trust me, does not work in the real world, but it's a pretty quick game to get into on the whole. So, when you go into your journal and pick a quest, what actually happens and what do you get as a reward? Well, Enshrouded has one of the most extensive progression systems I've ever seen in a survival crafting game. Rewards for quests can be anything from new weapons, armor, new crafting stations for your base, new recipes, and even new NPCs that you can bring back to your home base who unlock the ability to make new and improved gear. And for me, this idea of getting actual people to come and help you is an awesome addition, and each of them unlock new quests and an absolute ton of new crafting recipes. So getting hold of a new NPC really feels like you're making progress. Unfortunately though, the quests themselves aren't particularly inspired. There's a few puzzle sections which unlock fast travel points around the world, and there is a little bit of exploration to be had, but for the most part what we've got here is go to this place and kill all the stuff there. And the system for the killing of stuff, the combat system, can be a bit clunky. Yes, you can block and dodge, and you can even unlock some special moves in the skill tree, like this cool roll and attack thing I've got going on here. But for the most part what we're looking at here is hitting the enemies over and over, and trying not to get hit yourself. At least if you're going for a melee style of combat, because there are other classes and other ways to play. And actually hitting these enemies is, forgive the pun, but hit or miss. Sometimes you'll find yourself swinging wildly and just missing everything around you. And I hear you furiously typing, the game has a lock-on, so just use that. And, well, yeah, it does, but A, lock-on doesn't always make hits more likely to land, and B, it's very rare you don't have multiple enemies swarming around you, or terrain hazards like holes in the ground to watch out for at the same time. And this is where we also come to one of the big stumbling blocks with playing this as a single-player game. Almost every location I go to, I get attacked by multiple enemies, all at the same time, all hoarding around me, and they're almost always a higher level than me. Now, with a team of friends playing alongside you, this shouldn't be too much of a problem, and there can be up to 16 of you in a server, so you can each take on a couple of enemies each and revive teammates when they go down. But as just one player, and in my case a pretty incompetent player, this can lead to a lot of moments of, oh yeah, I can totally take these guys, no problem. followed quickly by a
Nope.
and running away screaming. The game's solution to this problem? Grind your arse off.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that came out a little bit more explicit than I meant it to, but you know what I mean.
Alright, stop the damn smooth music.
Now, I've put in about 15 hours into Enshrouded. I would have liked to have played more, but these types of videos tend to have deadlines on them, so it is what it is. But my point is that I've reached level 10, and at this stage in the game, I'm underleveled for pretty much every quest in my journal, and Enshrouded just isn't the type of game that I want to go and grind. Yes, you get XP for everything from mining resources to killing basic enemies, but none of that feels like progress. None of that makes me want to keep playing, and it's always such a small amount that it just isn't impactful. Now, none of this is to say that there isn't anything good about the combat in Enshrouded. I mean, I love the variety in what you can do. Going back to Valheim, which I really enjoy by the way, this isn't anything against Valheim, but in that one there is basically one path to being more effective in battle. You get the next level of armor or weaponry, which is pretty much always better than the last level, and required for beating the next biome you enter, and then you go out and hit stuff with it. Rinse and repeat. Enshrouded, on the other hand, has an extensive skill tree, with loads of different options for playstyles from tank to wizard. There's a ton of loot, so you have a real choice about what you want to wield or wear, and there's plenty of choice in what to craft too, so it's not just a linear, oh this is the next armor, I must make it. No, you actually have to decide how you want to play. Now, in single player, I felt like the best choice was to go with a bit of a tanky build, because no one else is going to distract enemies for me, I'm going to have to take the hits. But if you can put together a team of friends, you can have a tank, an archer, a mage, a healer, and a load of other classes pretty much ripped straight from D&D. On the whole, I think the quest system is solid, but the quests themselves are pretty bland. And while with a group of friends the combat could have some synergies and experimentation with different playstyles, in single player it's a little monotonous, and is only really saved by a loot system that isn't going to scratch an itch for every type of player out there. But there is one thing that Enshrouded does better than almost any other game I've ever played. Please take the building mechanics from Enshrouded and insert them into every other game in this genre. It's just better. Everything just snaps into place easily. There's enough different choices for sizes, shapes and materials that you can go wild building almost anything you can think of, but not so many that the menus feel clunky to scroll through. And hey, if you do get something wrong, it's as simple as going over to the misplaced item and picking it up. Hell, if someone like me can create something competent like this, okay, I know it's not amazing, but humour me here, it's better than I usually manage, then someone with a spark of creativity and a bit of time on their hands could make something truly awesome, and they have, I've seen it online. In fact, you know those NPCs that you can bring home to your base to work for you? Well, I'm sure someone has already done this, but my idea, if I had more time and, well, talent, was to make a medieval high street. To build each of them their own shop, and if I wanted to, say, craft new armour, I'd nip round and see the blacksmith, or if I wanted potions, I'd head to the alchemist shop. Like I said, if you've got the time here, there's a lot you can do. Now, of course, as cool as that sounds, it really doesn't take away from the fact that the system I have in place here of just plonking all my NPCs in one corner of my house is probably the optimal way to do it. So if you're going to go for something a bit more out there, you're trading off convenience for style, but still, maybe one of these days my medieval high street will come to life. Most likely when I play with my friends so they can do the hard work of, you know, building it. Now, there are a few complaints that can be pointed in the direction of Enshrouded, like there's a few bugs and the performance isn't exactly phenomenal, but it is early access, so what do you expect, I suppose? But of all my gripes, the biggest one has to be, this game can be a real slog at times. Like I said, I've put around 15 hours in, and I haven't really seen anything new since about hour 5 or 6. There's an awful lot of time spent collecting resources, which often requires Googling to find out where they are and what they look like, and the monotony of the same enemies, the same types of quests, and even the same damn biomes just makes the game a chore to keep on playing. I mean, the first 3 areas I've been in the game are the Springlands, the Low Meadows, and the Revelwood. So, we've got some fields, some more fields, and some fields with trees. Now, compare that to, yes, it's that game again, Valheim, and within 3 biomes, you've gone from frolicking with wild deer to being attacked by gigantic tree abominations. In Enshrouded, you're gonna see the same raidery type bandits and the same damn wolves over and over again. So many wolves, please, why? Yes, they get gradually higher leveled, but they're not a threat. They're just annoying. They just run up to you out in the wild and make you fight for a second before you carry on with your journey. And come to think of it, why is this wolf such a high level compared to the early ones? What have you seen? What did you do? Anyway, my point is that things take far too long to open up, and I know that there is more out there. I know that different people will have different tolerances for the amount of grinding they're willing to accept, but for me, with the leveling specifically, it was just a bit too much. The resource collection wasn't too bad, but being locked out of anything new for so long because of leveling is just beyond my grind threshold. One time I got bored enough that I tunneled through a mountain to reach the next area, which appeared to be some kind of desert plains, and yeah, there were new creatures and enemies, and everything just felt a little bit more exotic. But the enemies there were even higher level, and I knew I wasn't supposed to be there yet, and any fight I got into was gonna result in a very dead me. With friends, you might be able to brute force this, you might be able to go to that new and cool section of the map early, but on your own, you just can't fight that underleveled, so I had to head back to the same old trees and same old fields and yeah, the same old enemies that I'd seen 1,000 times before, and it sucks, because I know there's cool stuff out there, I've seen it. It just takes way too long to get to. There is, however, one saving grace here though, and that's the Shroud. These shrouded areas have been infected with grotesque creatures and fungi that billow plumes of noxious gas, and the fact that there's a timer on how long you can spend in these areas gives every foray into the Shroud a much more tense and frantic feel. But again, the enemies here are mostly very dull, other than the bosses, which do have their own movesets and can feel like a genuine challenge, but there's way too few of them. Although, going off on a tangent here, there was this one boss who I absolutely hated. His arena had holes in it, so dodging was out of the question, and he just kept on destroying me. I mean, have a look. Doing some good damage, Need to heal. Ow. Oh, God, Get out. Damn it. He's so close. Let me out! Are you serious? Alright, we're doing well this time. We got him. Ow, stop it. Dodge that. God damn, this is close. Oh, we're gonna do it. Get one more. You are kidding me. He's dead. What? I think the point that I'm trying to get across when I'm not yelling at bosses is that Enshrouded very much feels like an early access game. The content that's here is good, it's fun to play, but there needs to be more variety, and the content needs to be delivered to players faster to stop the game from turning into a slog in the first place. So, the big question here is, of course, is Enshrouded any good? And I feel that the answer is, and I love saying this, I love when I get to do this one, a definite, solid yes. Sure, there's plenty of issues that need to be improved upon, and you may want to hold off until later in the early access period or even until full release, but what we already have here is a really fun game. However, as a single player experience, I feel it leaves something to be desired. Clearly, the game is intended to be played with friends, so if you can't get a group together to play, there's quite a few reasons not to bother. You might have noticed that I haven't really mentioned the story so far, and that's because there's not really much to say. There seems to be one cutscene in the entire game, and the rest is doled out in scrolls and lore pages you find scattered around the world. There's also no particularly interesting quest chains that make you want to keep going, and the world doesn't really feel like you have much impact on it. It's the loot, the building, and the amount of things to try with friends that really make Enshrouded. So personally, I will be playing some more of this one, but only after I get my friends to play with me. Yes, I do want to explore everything there is to see in this world, and I am hooked on all the different forms of progression, but I don't want to put in the grind on my own that's going to be required to get to the next cool thing. But hey, that's just me, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this one, whether you've already picked it up or you're planning on playing in the future. And with that, I'm off to see a doctor about these hands. I really shouldn't have been punching those things. I mean, honestly, the trees were kind of okay, but the rocks, man, that was a step too far. Thank you for watching till the end of the video, and if you made it this far, hey, maybe you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd be very appreciative if you'd leave a like and subscribe for more in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.